All images of artwork in this video are provided courtesy of the University of Lethbridge Art Gallery. Each artwork is a part of the gallery's current collection. The elements of art are the building blocks used by artists to create a work of art. There are 6 elements of art. These include line, shape, form, space, color, and texture. Line is any mark with greater length than width. Lines can be horizontal, vertical, diagonal, straight, curved, thick, thin, or broken. This ink drawing by artist André Derain, titled Trees, is an example of the power of line drawing, showing straight, curved, horizontal, vertical, and diagonal, as well as broken line. This ink drawing from 1873 was created by Paul Cézanne, a post-impressionist painter who influenced the likes of Matisse and Picasso. This ink drawing is titled Head of a Young Girl. Notice the use of short, long, thick, and thin lines to show the shape of the body and the face, as well as the contrast of the background. Shape is considered a closed line. Shapes can be geometric, like squares, circles, and triangles, or organic, like freeform or natural shapes. Shapes are flat or two-dimensional and can express length and width. This oil painting by artist Takeo Tanabe, titled Red Field, is an example of the use of a variety of geometric shapes such as squares, triangles, rectangles, etc. This oil painting, titled Northern Lights No. 22 by artist Gershon Iskowitz, is an excellent example of the use of organic shape, as well as the use of color, shade, and tint. Forms are three-dimensional shapes expressing length, width, and depth. Cylinders and boxes are examples of forms. This sculpture by artist Terence Johnson, which is untitled, is a three-dimensional form constructed of carved wood and enamel. Notice the length, width, and depth of the forms, the use of color, and the use of line in the thick and thin stripes. This sculpture by Gordon Ferguson, titled Channel, is a three-dimensional form constructed of sandstone and steel, and is an excellent example of the use of line, both straight and curved with the use of steel, as well as the use of organic shape in the sandstone. Space is the area between and around objects. The space around objects is often called negative space, and negative space also has shape. The shape that objects take up is called positive space. Positive space contains shapes as well. This oil painting by artist Billy J. McCarroll, titled Sam in Grays, demonstrates both positive and negative space. The outline of a man in a hat is the central feature of this painting and may be considered the positive space. The area around it, in gray or black, could be considered the negative space. Space can also be referring to the feeling of depth. Real space is three-dimensional. In visual art, when we create the feeling of illusion of depth, we call it space. This watercolor painting by artist Don Fraiche is untitled Country Road with Grain Elevator, illustrates the feeling of space and depth. The grain elevators are off in the distance, painted smaller than the tree closest to the viewer to give the illusion of distance. Color is reflected light off objects. Color has 3 main characteristics: hue, value, and intensity. This color wheel shows the hues. There are 3 primary colors and 3 secondary colors. Primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. Secondary colors are orange, green, and purple. When you mix 2 primaries together, you make a secondary color. For example, red and yellow make orange, yellow and blue make green, red and blue make purple. Complementary colors are colors directly across from each other on the color wheel. Intermediate or tertiary colors are made when you mix a primary and a secondary color beside each other on the color wheel. Value is how light or dark a hue is. A color's value changes when you add black or white to it. When you add white to a hue, you make a tint of that color. When you add black to a hue, you make a shade of that color. This example shows what happens to the color blue when you add white and black to it. This also shows a change in value, how light or dark it is. Intensity is how bright or dull a color is. This image shows varying degrees of intensity. The far left color yellow is the most intense. The far right color of yellow is most dull. This oil painting by artist Dan Hudson, titled Shark, is an excellent example of the use of complementary colors, orange in the fish and blue in the water and the sharks. As well, different values of the hue or color blue are used throughout. Various tints and shades of blue are used to enhance, but also hide parts of the shark and blend them in with the water. This oil painting by Marion Nicol, titled East from the Mountains, is an excellent example of the use of primary colors in contrast with black and white, and the use of geometric shape. Texture is a surface quality that can be seen or felt. Texture can be rough or smooth, soft or hard. Textures do not always feel the way they look. These images of rock formations and a close-up of leaves show smooth and bumpy textures. This ink drawing by artist Ken Danby, titled Early Autumn, shows the textures of the tree the boy is sitting on. In sections, you can see the bark has worn away and is smooth, while in other areas the bark is still intact and is likely rough to the touch.